What is something illegal you have done and got away without getting caught? I stole my own car from the tow impound lot. Best part was getting the certified letter months later that they were going to auction it if I didn't come and pay for it. Assisted in semi-stealing a car. Almost 2 decades ago my cousin calls my dad and says his car broke down. As my dad has friends with heavy equipment, he figured my dad could get a trailer to tow it on. So my dad, my uncle and I go pick up a flatbed tow truck from a friend of his and drive 2 hours to pick up the car. We find it near where it should be on the side of the highway, so we load it up and go to a rest stop to secure it on the truck better. As my dad and my uncle are attaching straps, I'm looking at the car and notice something is odd. My cousin's car, late 80s Audi, had broken speakers. For whatever reason they all stopped work, so instead of replacing them with normal speakers he used house tower speakers, big ones at that back seat and passenger seat. I'm noticing there aren't any tower speakers in the car. I pointed this out and they stop and start looking at the car, then check the plate number, they don't match. Cousin had a vanity plate. My dad immediately hooks the call, raises the bed and lets it roll off into a space at the rest area. We hop into the truck and drive off to find the car. We find it less than a mile away. Audi reliability jokes aside, what are the odds of 2 identical orders, same year, color and even rims and tires being broken down that close to each other? I used to have a total lead foot. One day, I was driving to my ex-wife's parents' house by myself. They lived in a small town right off of the freeway. Now, on the freeway I was driving about 130 kilometers per hour, which was standard for most drivers. When you pull off the freeway, it immediately drops to 45 kilometers per hour. So, I pull onto this main drag and start driving through the town. I'm about a mile down when suddenly I notice a police car pull up behind me. I look down and see that I'm driving at 70 kilometers per hour. A few things hit all at once. First, I couldn't afford a ticket. I was 20 miles over. I would have ended up with a $200 plus ticket just because I failed to decelerate. I was only 3 blocks from my in-laws, and the officer hadn't turned on his lights yet. For reasons only known to me, I immediately pulled over, turned off the car and started walking. The officer pulled up behind me, not knowing what to do, but still with no lights turned on. I just kept walking without turning around. I get to my in-laws and tell them what happened. They tell me that I have to go back for my car, so I do. The officer was gone. No consequences whatsoever, never received a ticket in the mail, never heard a thing. I would never ever do it again. And that's how I got out of a major speeding violation. My friends and I didn't pay for our dinner at Steak and Shake this past weekend. I stood waiting at the register trying to pay for 20 minutes, but no one came to take my money. It was 12:30 a.m. before we left. Stole a Blue Angels flag from the hangar they were parked in. When I was in the Navy, the Blue Angels visited the air base I was stationed at. They proceeded to kick all of our planes out of our hangar, and I had to fix our birds out in the rain. In a fit of contempt, on the last day they were there, I went into the mess and stole the flag hanging from the overhead beams. I still have the flag and wear it like a cape from time to time. I trespassed a condo car park. To see an expensive car I pretended I lived there. Stole some candy when I was 6 years old at the corner store in 1967, the summer of love for candy. I hid it behind a sock ball in my hand. I even showed the sock ball to the owner and said, "You like my sock ball?" I still feel remorse. He was nice gentleman. Him just here looking for the comment that says murder. Worked at a car dealership, broke many finance and insurance fraud laws on a daily basis for years. Most finance managers do and may not even be aware of it. I once overslept for an oral English exam. So I forged the letter I received with the date and moved it to following week. Showed it to my English teacher, and she said it was probably a mistake, but I had to show it to the school dean as well, to get approval for a reschedule. I showed the forged letter to him and he instantly, *INSTANTLY*, found a mistake I made in the letter and just casually said that the letter looked typed over. I was sweating bullets at that point, because forging a letter for an exam is a pretty harsh offense, and could have gotten me suspended. But he just shrugged it off, and gave me permission for a reschedule. I guess since I wasn't a troublemaker he just gave me a pass. The dean was one of the cooler teachers at school though. He loved SpongeBob, and if he gave you detention work, you had to make a SpongeBob figure with a sponge and such. I once kept a dead otter in my freezer, after finding it on the side of the road. In the UK this can get a hefty fine and prison time without a license. Once I found out I released the dead otter into the wild. It was a bit like Free Willy, but with less movement. I stole a piece of obsidian from biology class. At the next lesson biology teacher came to our classroom and forced us to admit who stole an obsidian. But I didn't. I accidentally shoplifted some pudding cups once. I was at Target and was buying a couple of large bags of dog food which were in the basket part of the cart and several smaller items that were in the top part of the cart. I had tossed the pudding cups into the basket part before I put the dog food bags in and forgot they were there when I put all the smaller items on the belt to be rung up. They were hidden from view when the dog food bags were scanned. I saw them when I was putting the dog food bags into the trunk. If the lines weren't so long I would have gone back to pay for them, but 20+ minutes for a 99-cent item, I can live with that. If it were a more expensive item I would have returned to pay for it. I visited a abandoned building. Someone called the police and 30 minutes later we saw firefighters walking into the huge building just to search us. Luckily we saw it when we were already out. I stole a police radio from a TABC officer once, drunk as hell and underage at a club. I was on the dance floor at some club and an elderly lady asked if I wanted to dance. I was like, fuck yeah, cougar action. She then asked me to follow her, and I was like, fuck yeah, this lady fucks. She then showed me her badge, and I was like, fuck. Officer took me to the back office of the club and threatened to take me to jail and decided on just giving me a fine. When she went to make a copy of my ID she left her radio on the desk. I shoved that shit in my pants. I have no fucking clue why I did this. Went outside and called my friends and told them we have to leave. Got in the car and showed them what my drunk ass did and we all had a great laugh. Never paid the ticket and never received a warrant, so I guess I got away with it. If you enjoyed the stories, slap the like and subscribe button for more of them, and don't forget to support the original writers with an upvote. Links are in the description. Peace out, and catch you tomorrow.